Hey, what's up? It's Tati, and I'm back with another review of Tales from the Territories. This week we are covering Polynesian Pacific Pro Wrestling. On the panel today we had Lars Anderson, Kevin Sullivan, Bruno Lauer, and Ricky Ayakea. And I was so excited for this episode because this territory, although we don't get to hear much about it itself, it has produced some of the biggest names in pro wrestling. Well, as far as the Samoan dynasty goes, with having High Chief Peter Maivia, and after his adopted daughter Ada had got married to Rocky Johnson, they had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who's arguably one of the best pro wrestlers of all time. And I don't mean just in the ring. I mean, he was just a total package. And also we have other members of the families who's gone on to make big names for themselves. And noticeably at this moment, we have Roman Reigns and the Usos, who are absolutely killing it in WWE. And at some point I was worried about Roman's, but however, he has made a big name for himself. He's not the best wrestler, but he's definitely making the Samoans very proud. This territory had a huge advantage, their location. So what was so unique about their location being smack in the middle in the Pacific Ocean was that when wrestlers were traveling to and from the United States or Japan, this was usually the layover spot where wrestlers would stop, and those who wanted to dabble into the territory would obviously be welcomed with open arms and wrestle. So a lot of big names from territories in the US and in Japan will stop by and also have matches here. So this was a huge advantage for this promotion. High Chief Peter Maivia was loved and respected by most in this territory. While he was considered to be a really nice guy, he was also very tough. And one of the stories that they talked about on this episode was how he attacked Billy Robinson. So one day they were at a restaurant eating, and Billy looked over and Peter was eating his food with his hands, and Billy was just like, what the fuck? And he actually called Peter a savage for eating with his hands. And Peter was not taking that shit at all. He attacked him, then got him onto the ground and pulled his eye out. And from that moment on, if you ever see any pictures of Billy Robinson, you'll see his eye is just like, one is looking at you, the other one is just somewhere else, basically. So that was from him calling Peter a savage. While this territory had many great moments, they also had controversial moments as well. One of them being a riot that took place in the 60s. Now, this was during the match of King Curtis versus Neff Maivia. Now, King Curtis been running his mouth for quite some time talking shit about Neff. Now, Neff is Samoan, so basically he's trying to say like Samoan have these crazy ass features as far as physically goes, and that was very offensive to the Samoan people. And once they got together in this arena, now King Curtis' father, he was a police officer. He had to get the squad out there and basically was like, hey, we need some backup here in case things get crazy. So on one side of the arena you had the Samoans, and the other side of the arena you had the Hawaiians. And now this match, for the majority of the match, Neff is dominating, and he is, I believe he was booked to win this match. I don't remember if they said who was supposed to win, but I think he was supposed to win this match. But the match does not end up concluding. So what happened was Neff was getting ready to do his finisher, which is the coconut headbutt. And Curtis, he's leaning against the turnbuckle, and Neff doesn't know this, but he is removing the padding from the turnbuckle. And as soon as he goes for his finisher, King Curtis moves out the way, and Neff hits his head on the exposed turnbuckle, and blood just starts gushing out on the fans, and not just any fans, on the Samoan fans. So this makes him even more like crazy, because now they're like, oh shit, like his blood is literally just spewing out onto the crowd, and the fans are angry as hell, especially the Samoans, and just brings out a riot. So Peter Maivia comes out, and some of the guys from the back comes out, and it's just chaos. You know, they're still going along with the you know, the planned storyline here. King Curtis ends up taking Neff's hair and tying it onto the ropes. He's also bleeding from the mouth, and he puts Alka-Seltzer in his mouth so that his mouth can start foaming. So, you know, to give that more dramatic effect. And everybody's just upset about what's going on or whatnot, mainly the Samoans. So now you got the Samoan audience, and then you have the Hawaiians. They're all upset, and it's a riot going on. And then at some point, some idiot throws a concrete block, and it actually hits one of the police officers. And that's when things was just like way too much, and Peter Maivia had to come on the mic and was like, y'all need to calm your asses down, because there's no reason why you guys should be getting involved with what's going on in this ring. And basically he was like that voice of reason to get everyone to calm down, because had he had not said anything, things could have been much worse that night. Sadly, in 1982, Peter Maivia had passed away from cancer, and the promotion was inherited by Leah, who was his wife. And to be completely honest, I think it's so badass that she was able to hang in this male-dominated world of professional wrestling and made it what it was, and she actually did a very great job at that. The business aspect of professional wrestling, she did understand. However, she had some difficulties with kayfabe. So whenever heels would say things about you know, Polynesian culture, she would take offense to it. It took quite some time for her to realize that, hey, they're just playing a character and they don't mean what they say. And one of the things that she realized was that she can capitalize on foreigners basically being discriminatory towards Polynesian wrestlers, and use that to, you know, add heat onto these heel characters. Although Leah was a woman in a male-dominated world, she was respected, especially as the late wife of Peter Maivia, and she also had Lars Anderson beside her as her right-hand man in the business. And everyone listened to her as she grew to know more and more about the wrestling world, and they were becoming very successful. However, we had one story with Kevin Sullivan, who was just not feeling the booking at all. One night, Kevin Sullivan had a match against Siva Afi, and Siva was Samoan, and they were in Samoa having a match. Now, Leah told him that Siva was going to drop the title to him, and he was going to end up winning in front of a crowd where everyone was Samoan, and he was like, fuck this, no way. But Leah insisted that he was dropping the title and he was going to win. When he gets to the arena and he sees everyone was like over 300 pounds and huge big men, he was so intimidated and he had no idea what to do. And also he said that he noticed that a lot of them were on these psychedelic type of drugs, and he felt like if he won, they might do something to him and he'll never make it home. So what he ended up doing was, once he got into the ring, he told the ref to ring the bell. Ref rang the bell. He picked up Siva, put him on his chest, laid in the middle of the ring, and told the ref to count to 3. The ref was confused as hell, but he did what he was told, and Siva retained the title, and he got the hell out of there. And when he got backstage, Leah was really upset and told him to go back out there and wrestle again. And he said, hell no, he's not doing it. He wants to make it back home. In 1985, the territory was thriving, and they had their biggest show called Hot Summer Night, and they had over 20,000 people in attendance. So we had not just those in the territory, but we had wrestlers from Japan and wrestlers from many different territories in the US come together and put on a very big successful show. Now promoters and wrestlers, they were really trying to be on their best behavior, especially to I guess you could say impress Leah as well. Some promoters, they wanted to acquire the promotion, and you had some wrestlers who did want to be part of the Polynesian Pacific Pro Wrestling. Maybe not full-time, but wanted to have some, you know, good reputation with Leah. Now during this event, I think is where Leah really discovered that people wanted to take this promotion from her, not just because she's a woman or whatnot, but they're becoming successful. More people were putting some eyes on them, and they felt like it would be a, you know, great investment to have this territory under their belt. And she was very, very concerned. So Lars, who was her right-hand man, he also was concerned. Now, you know, him being from the States and not being of Polynesian descent, he stated that he felt, you know, discrimination because of that. And some people, even a stockholder, did not like him, you know, being so high up in the territory. And one day, this stockholder, along with some other employees, actually went and attacked him to the point that he was bleeding. He stated that he was gagging on his own tongue, and they had to use a spoon to like pry his tongue out or whatnot. So he was bleeding profusely. And after being hit in the head, he couldn't really remember much of what happened, but he physically felt him, you know, himself getting hurt and whatnot. And he stated that, you know, had not the police got involved, he believed that they were going to throw him into the ocean, and, you know, ultimately he would pass away or whatnot. And he feared for his safety, but he still, you know, loved what he did. He wanted to be part of the territory. And unfortunately, there was just some people who just felt like he had no business being there. Okay, so now let's talk about this lawsuit. Now, this is so fucking silly at the end of listening to this whole thing. But with the territory being popular and everyone wanting to have like a little piece of it, we had the territory's commentator, okay, his name is Dunbar. Now he was like, he wanted to have his own promotion, and he was getting people from the territory to be part of his promotion and have matches. Now in the wrestling world, especially during this time, you want to use someone who's already signed with someone else, you need to pay up and pay that booking fee. Now, he felt offended basically about Leah saying that he had to pay that booking fee, and he looked at it like it was extortion. And when in fact, it actually was not. So when Leah was like, bro, pay up or else. And I guess he did have some shows where he did not pay. So Leah had one of their referees call him up one night and told him, if you don't pay that booking fee, we're gonna come to your house, cut your son's balls off and put it in his mouth. And he was spooked the hell off. Now, should they have said that? No, but when money's involved, you know, people are gonna say things that they probably shouldn't say. So what does Dunbar do? He calls the FBI and tells them that he's being extorted. And oddly enough, they decide to actually get involved with this. So now the FBI is involved, and Dunbar is going to meet Lars and Leah to provide them with the extortion money. And little did they know, he's actually wired by the FBI, and they're just waiting for them to take the money from Dunbar before they can, you know, just bust in through the door and, you know, arrest them or whatnot. So that's actually what happens. As soon as he hands over the money to them and the transaction is done, now the FBI gets involved, and they're actually pointing guns at them, okay? Leah and Lars end up getting arrested. They spend 2 days in jail, and the trial goes on for like, what, 13 weeks, I believe they said. So all this because he's saying that it's extortion, when really it's him having to pay a booking fee. And to be completely honest with you, you know, the court system and whatnot, they don't know anything about booking fees and how the wrestling world works. Now, Dunbar obviously took advantage of the situation. Yeah, they threatened his son or whatever, but they took advantage of this, and you know, I think obviously was to give himself the upper hand to try to get this territory away from Leah, since, you know, he was already trying to come up with his own promotion, and it would just be easier for Leah to be gone and for him to just take over the promotion. Now, during this time, you also had CWF, who was looking to expand their territory to Hawaii, so they were looking at it like this was the perfect opportunity for them to get involved as well. And honestly, a lot of other promotions just looked at this situation as something that would be to their advantage. Now, even the president of NWA had to get involved and testify as well, and basically explain the difference between a booking fee and extortion. Now, for it to have even come to that point, that's absolutely ridiculous. And ultimately, Leah was found not guilty. And although she was found not guilty, she was deported back to Samoa, and that obviously is an issue because she's not a citizen of Hawaii, so she has to go back home. That's a big issue because now she can't be there to run things, and that obviously became a huge advantage for anyone who had their eyes on the territory. After the lawsuit, the territory was never the same again. They did have another hot summer night the following year. However, they were only able to draw less than 2,000 people, unlike the first year where they had over 20,000 people in attendance. So things just went downhill from there. And like other territories, they were just wiped out. Now, this show, honestly, I end up wanting to know more after watching it. Now, that's a good thing and also a bad thing at the same time. That means, like, you know, yeah, you're interested and you want to know more, but at the same time, they didn't provide as much information as they could. So if they could have added another hour, like, that would definitely not be a problem with me. I would tune in for another hour. The rest of the show, they briefly talk about Rocky Johnson, and they do talk about The Rock getting his first car from Bruno, which was from a homeless man who was selling a car for $400. They end up buying it for $40. After The Rock driven it for like, what, 3 blocks or so, that's when they realized another homeless man was in there. He was sleeping. They kicked his ass out, and they took the car to the hotel, and that shit never ran again. And years later, I think actually like within the last 5 years or so, he ended up buying Bruno a brand new car. So that was really cool to see. But other than that, it's like, yo, they could have put so much more into this, and they did not. I do enjoy the show, but I want to know a lot more of what's going on. And, you know, Googling information about the promotion, I didn't really find that much stuff. So that's unfortunate because they could have provided much more information. Well, there's another episode next week. I can't remember which promotion it is, but I have great news. They have been already filming for Dark Side of the Ring, and I can't wait for that to come out. Thank you for watching my review. See you next time.